Penny for your thoughts, friends. Let's talk about this coup. I want to get so incredibly relative with you guys. There is a coup happening. Actually, the coup happened, but we're seeing it play out right now. And something that I think is really, really important to discuss is boycotting and civil disobedience and acts of resistance. I think probably the most important thing that I want people to understand is they really, really, really don't like it when you don't spend money. And so I want you to know that if anybody is around you and they are discrediting boycotting, or they're saying boycotting doesn't work, or one, I need you to know that person is operating in bad faith, because boycotts do work. And not only do they work so well that literally just last week we had Papa Elon run to his daddy Trump and tell on us that we were boycotting their cars. And then you watch the president of the United States become a car salesman real time to tell his followers to go and buy cars. Anybody who says that boycotting doesn't work it's always very funny to me, because we had an entire pandemic. If you want any visibility into if boycotts work at all, look at the pandemic. We had barely shut down for, a month, and they were like, give them money. Send them money. That's what happened. The economy shut down, which is essentially like a boycott on a much wider scale. It doesn't matter what it was facilitated by. But we were able to see the impacts on the economy when there was no money moving. A significant portion of the American GDP comes from consuming. I have a video coming out on privatization, and it's really funny because in this video, I am really encouraging you to move away from your consumer mindset, move away from thinking and kind of looking at everything as a consumer versus a citizen. And even in the short time that I've filmed this video, it'll be out in like a week or so. Even in the amount of time that has happened since I've filmed that, I've expanded on that thought, or it's evolved a little bit in my brain because of what is currently happening with boycotts, and watching the reaction in the stock market and watching the reaction in politics. It's not necessarily that we need to move away from being consumers. We need to understand our power as consumers and transform into being citizen consumers. You vote with your dollars. Every single time you give your money to an organization, a corporation, a business, you are saying, I would like you to continue. I would like you to continue. I would like to see you continue going. I would like to see you keep growing. I would like you to still be here. And a couple weeks ago, I had posted that I wanted a realtor. I was looking for a realtor, but I honestly didn't want a MAGA realtor. And a lot of people jumped down my throat, and they were like, oh, you're sowing division, da 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 da. No, we can't live in a society that pushes the free market, the free market, the free market. And then the moment that I make a decision that reinforces my understanding of the free market and my rights as a consumer citizen to vote with my dollars, that I'm somehow sowing division. That is not the case. But if, someone's going to make $20,000 off of the sale of my home that I've paid for, I'd much rather those dollars go into the pockets of someone who does not align with the policies. And I wouldn't even say policies, because we already know for a fact that a lot of, the desire to vote in the direction of MAGA has very little to do with policies. But you're aligning with those ideas. And I would much rather my dollars go into the pockets of someone who's not really in alignment with those ideas. And that's what matters. So I guess all this to say, align yourself, align your dollars in any way that you can. There's some areas where you might not be able to. It could be a matter of, accessibility. It could be a matter of affordability. You kind of get what you get. But I think living in the South, I became much more political living in the South, because you really, truly understand that, one, the South is kind of like the testing ground for all of the BS. They test things in the South to see what they can get away with before they roll it out to wider populations. And what we are seeing right now is everywhere is basically becoming the South. And living here made it so that I had to be much more intentional. Sometimes it meant having to drive a little bit further to go to a gas station that when I pulled up, it wasn't covered in, MAGA merch. And because I don't want to give you my money. And that doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me divisive. It doesn't make me childish to not want to give you money. Okay? That's not the reality of the situation. Anybody who is trying to Pretend that boycotting doesn't matter is being disingenuous. All you need to do is look at the pandemic. We had like the biggest boycott ever. Saw the effects immediately on the economy. We're still feeling the effects. That is the power that we have. And that's honestly the only thing that these people understand. The only thing that they understand is money. Watching Tesla's stock drop the way that it has, and then the rest of the market still be suffering and Tesla's being propped up should tell you how disconnected from reality that stock is, but it should also tell you how afraid they are of losing money. After a certain point of wealth, people do not spend money out of their pockets. They use their collateral, they use their name, they use, their stock amounts as income. So if the stock starts dropping, all of those people who you owe money to are going to be like, hey, you need to pay us our money. We lent this to you, or we agreed to this with you when you had $300 billion in, unvested stock, but now it's dropping and you don't have the money to pay us. That's what's happening. So please do not feel like because, if you're boycotting, it doesn't matter. It matters. They do not like when you don't spend money. And I don't know what else you need other than the president running a car sales commercial for the richest man in the world to encourage his followers to go buy it. His followers who were just complaining about affordability and never being able to own a house. He's encouraging them to go out and buy $60,000 vehicles because that's how much they care about you spending money. So think about how you're voting with your dollars, what you want to contribute to, what you don't want to contribute to. And to the people who say things like, oh, one day of boycotting doesn't matter, to that I say 100% you are right. Actually, no, I don't think that you're right. I don't think that you're right at all. Here's why I don't think that you're right. I think that a lot of times people who are woke or conscious, they operate under the assumption that everybody is at the same level of awakening as them. And at the same time that they came into it, they want to tell you that, I've always been woke, but no, there was a point in time where you came into realization and it took time for you to expand that realization. And there's people who didn't even know that there was a problem in America until 2020. So that's what we're up against. And if you have one day where somebody's like, I'm going to participate in this boycott, and they don't spend money on that day, or they don't buy from this person that they would have normally bought for, they have started the crucial process of thinking differently about money, about access, about the tools that they have. It takes that first step before you can even start thinking on a grander scale. That's the reality of the situation. And maybe you increase the age of your money. Maybe, your money used to only last 3 days, a couple hours, but because you didn't spend money this day, your money's lasting an additional day. Like, these little things start to add up to where people are thinking differently about their choices. And that's what you want. Instead of being a slave to convenience, instead of it being a slave to quick, instant gratification, you're doing something with the understanding that I'm not going to get immediate gratification. And even taking that step is a step through the door, whether you like it or not, whether you feel like, oh, it should be more than that, it should be happening right now. That's neither here nor there. It's a collective movement, a collective mindset that needs to be built. And it starts with small, everyday actions. If you're somebody who's like ramping on somebody's boycotting, chill out, bro. Chill out. The more people who start thinking on a wider scale, you don't get a society built on rugged individualism and then all of a sudden everybody just starts thinking on a wider collective scale all at once. That's not how it works. And the really interesting thing about being engaged civically is most people don't demand change because they haven't done anything to demand change in some way, shape, or form. So they haven't been rejected and they haven't been told no. They're sitting in a position where they don't really know what to do. They can't really complain because they haven't done anything anyways, so they're just abiding by it. But the moment that they start taking steps and doing the things that everybody, like they're the socially agreed upon things that you need to do to be an active citizen, and then they get told no, things change a little bit, or they get a door closed in their face. Things change a little bit. You become emboldened. I did everything that you told me to do. I showed up to my town hall. I wrote to my representative. I made these calls. I phone banked. I volunteered. I did this. And you are telling me no? That is where people start to develop a pride and a sense of ownership and a responsibility in their citizenry, in who they are as a collective. Because I'm playing the game the way that you told me to play it and you changed the rules. Now I'm angry. Now I'm upset. You have to let people get to the point where they are angry because they did what they were supposed to do and they were rejected. So please know that this is a process. Know that most people, unfortunately, don't wake up or haven't woken up because the system is still working for them, and they have to be told no or rejected by that very same system that they have faith in order to open up their collective eye. That's a step that has to happen first. Fewer things can radicalize someone faster than following the rules and watching that goalpost be moved, or have those rules broken by the very same people who use them to keep you in line. It's a process. And if you're in it for the long, tedious haul. So I'm going to do a larger video on resistance and civil disobedience. So keep an eye out for that. I just want to get a penny for your thoughts on the boycotts and the collective action that you guys are seeing currently happening take place around the world. And I will see y'all in the next one.